left my house a little while ago, and I was trying to do math in my head, so that's always I'm not good at math. Luckily, my wife's Japanese and Korean, so I got that covered. But I left the house, and I had so many things in my head that I found myself outside without my key and without my phone, which is like, it's such a weird feeling, you know? Most of my life, I didn't carry a key and a phone, but now I do, like, all the time. So it was like a situation where I was like, you feel like a weird feeling. But luckily for me, I'm waiting outside the front door. One of the cool neighbors that I know came walking up the thing. Him and his boyfriend are some of the neighbors that we think are okay. You know, like if the thing is with my building, I don't see the same people hardly ever. It's like there's always new people coming in there that I've never seen before, and a lot of times you never see them again. I think that's like Airbnb. I'm friends with the building manager, and he's always like, dude, if you hear anyone talking about Airbnb, you gotta let me know. And I'm like, I don't know. I've never heard of anyone, you know, talking about it, but it's obvious some kind of thing like that's happening because we got people moving out, people moving in because of the color of the skin. Yeah, so it's like there's always people I don't know. But you know what? It's not just about the skin. It's their actions and content of character. But beyond that, yeah, so I was real psyched to see him come walking up. And he let me up there. And as I'm sitting outside at the door, right, I'm just like, you know, getting feeling bad for myself. And I'm like, no, there's a reason. There must be a reason to this because God put you out here. He wants you to do something. He wants you to see something. Because that's pretty much how things go. You know, at least I found them to go that, found them to go that way. So then I get back in the house, right? And I get the shit, keys, phone, everything I left there. And I'm walking near ABC store. I hear this guy behind me. He's like, I think he was saying like some name, but I don't know. He was talking to me. I didn't realize it though. And then he comes up and he's walking beside me, and he goes, he's like an islander guy, a Pacific Islander of some kind. And he was like, you know, Jesus loves you. And like, yeah, oh yeah, I know. And I showed him my crucifixes and stuff. And he was like, but you have to know him. He said, let me just give you this Bible verse, and then I'll let you go. I'm like, no, it's fine, man. You don't bother me. And he's like, he said the one about how when it's time to go into the kingdom, you have to know Jesus the way he knows you. And I knew what he was talking about, so I'm like, yeah, you can't be lukewarm or he will spit you out. And he was real happy I knew what he was talking about. And he's like, yeah, have a good day, man. And I'm like, well, that was of course some kind of message, because I was thinking about it. You know, I was thinking about what was it, why it was out there. Sometimes things happen and you only get the answers or the reason much later, and then you go backwards and you put it together and you say, oh, that's what that was all about. And then again, you know, when you say things like this to people, like, what do you think, God has the time to fucking worry if you're locked out of the house? He's got all these things to worry about. And then I have to, well, I don't bother explaining to someone something like that. I just don't talk to them, you know. You have to like figure out who you bother talking to about this stuff. You know, if they're just too like beyond the pale, there's no sense. But if I had to reply to that, I would have to go into my house. Each person has their own personal Jesus. You do that. His consciousness, these beings, and it's the same thing with Satan, unfortunately. Their consciousness is so huge that for all intents and purposes, you can have your own individual God that follows you throughout the day, just like you have your own individual Satan that's doing the same to try to get you to do things. You are the most important thing in his world. And for the guy across the street, he's the most important thing in his world, because the consciousness, and it's hard to, I don't know if I'm articulating this well, it's so big that he can be in all these places and be fully present with everyone at the same time. Your consciousness is pretty vast too. It's bigger than this whole place. I mean, in fact, I say it all the time, all these other people that are walking around are you, basically. It's all divine source. We're all one consciousness, split up into different points of attention, expressing ourselves as individuals, but it's actually all one thing. But yeah, so it was a weird start today, but it turned out being good. I watched the stream yesterday. It was a really epic stream. I mean, this thing was awesome. It was better than like Rocky 2. It was three dudes having a serious conversation, like no jokes and no tacky BS about the Mandela effect, and how they were all up to date. You know, they'd all been in it for a while, and they all knew. And it's not about knowing the latest effects or anything. It's more about evolving into a way of thinking, like, all right, we know this is happening. What is it? How do we kind of work with it in a better way? Because it's like it's trying to communicate. It's trying to communicate with us. And this is, I think, the only way it can communicate. And a lot of people mention how, well, it's always with pop culture stuff. Yeah, because they know that a lot of people look at that stuff. So it's almost like there's something that can't directly talk to us. I mean, of course, I believe it's God, source, the cloud of consciousness. But it also could be us trying to talk to ourselves. It could be spelling out something with all these strange kind of disparate things that it does, the way it comes through, the different effects it makes. I've been through periods where I thought the idea was to try to look at all the effects and see what the commonality is between them. It's a lot of work though. And it's something I start doing and then just like, I do the same thing with dreams. I do the same thing with everything. I try to apply the scientific method to a lot of this stuff. And you can't really, because it's not scientific in the way that we've been taught what scientific is. Science and scientism is something that we've been given here as people, while the farmers use magic. And you know, everything's spellcraft with those people. A lot of stuff going on with them lately. It's like they're just firing off a lot of psyops, and it's desperation. I say it all the time. It's like they know they're losing control of the place, so they're extending all of their abilities, all their energy, all the power that they have to try to worm their way into every instance of people's lives, or at least to give the perception that they're everywhere in people's lives, so that people will look at it and feel defeated or feel like there's no hope. And that can lead you into the biggest sin of all, which is despair. But that despair also gives them energy. You know, our despair is like good kind of food for them. Low vibrational energy is what they can transmute to then feed themselves, empower themselves, and also to create and to run this whole place. So they want you to be despondent. They want you to be in despair. And that's a place you don't want to get to. You know, it's hard to pull out of too. It's like when that plane is nosedive crashing. You got to really pull on that stick to try to get yourself out of it. But you can. You know, I've pulled myself out of that many times. It's definitely possible. But yeah, I'll leave the links to this live stream here. It's definitely worth watching. It's great. At the end, kind of get a little silly, like start to relax. They're like, all right, we gotta have some fun now. But for the first couple hours there, some real good stuff. And I was taking notes because some of the things that was popping up, I was like, oh wow, that's good, that's good. I wish I could share them with you right now, but they're on my phone. So if there's anything, I'll probably do another thing about Mandela effect later. What I'll do is I'll get those notes together and tell you the pertinent things. But it's something that needs to be discussed more. You know, you could have this conversation every day. But the thing is, with Mandela effect on YouTube, it's usually, you know, top 10 Mandela effects that'll make you question. You know, it's all stupid entertainment stuff. No one really sits and takes it seriously. It's kind of become like a joke, you know, as far as most presentations of it. Like, it's not often that you're going to find guys that are sitting there, you know, that are really, and all these guys are good from their own field. They all have channels, and they're all Martin Lendike. What the other guys say? I think that one of the guys, the guy from Massachusetts, and sorry, I can't remember their names right now, but the guy from Massachusetts, I think he's the one that was showing all the plane stuff a couple of years ago. He had a lot of videos about how planes aren't real, you know, the way they think we are, the way we've been told that they are. So yeah, it's all good guys, all good minds, just sitting around trying to figure this thing out. There's so little of that going on in the world. You know, it's like a think tank. Like they got a little think tank there. I used to imagine when I was a kid that there were lots of think tanks everywhere, of guys getting together, smart guys, trying to make the world better. You know, like, you know, what do we do about this ozone layer problem? Or how do we keep, you know, the country safe or the world safe? None of those things, no one's doing that. No one's think tanking anything except ways to subjugate you even more. You know, that was before I understood, though, that there are no good guys here. You know, I always, you know, imagine that there was good forces in the world that would be doing stuff like that, and no, there certainly aren't. We have to do it ourselves. You know, we're the only ones. We're the only good guys here, sadly. You know, but yeah, it's a great stream. I'll leave links to it below, and I'll be back to talk about some more Mandela effect stuff. I'll get those notes together and go over them a little bit. In the meantime, don't blame the teacher, blame the school.